4, 3, 2.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome again to you all here this evening, and thank the Trinity Methodist Church for being the host location once again. I'd like to advise members that the meeting is being live streamed, and officers will be bringing a microphone to each speaker. Everyone should allow a moment for the microphone to get to them before speaking. I'm going to read the safety announcement. The building is protected by a fire alarm system with siren sounders and flashing lights in some rooms. On hearing the evacuation alarm, please leave the building by the nearest marked exit route. Fire exits are to my left and right and at the back of this room through the main entrance to the building. Please proceed to the assembly point situated within the car park and only take valuables immediately to hand. If anyone requires assistance, they will be helped by the officers present and after other people have left. Please do not return to the building until it is told it is safe to do so by the senior fire brigade officer, attending or church representative in the case of a false alarm. Smoking or any naked flame is not permitted in the building. Filming from the public seating area is permitted, but members must please refrain from filming so as not to disturb the meeting. Mobile phones must be switched to silent. Thank you. I'm now going to ask the Vice Chairman to read the opening prayer.
Good evening, everyone. O Lord, grant us courage to strive for what is right and good, courtesy to listen to those of different opinion. Strengthen us through our difficulties and pressures and guide us in our deliberations so that we may act in the interest of all in our district. To the glory of your holy name, Amen.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. I now come to item 2, is to elect the Chairman of the Council. I'm going to pass this to the legal officer who will ask for nominations.
Yes, good evening, members. Could I ask for nominations for Chairman, please? And could I ask for a seconder? Are there any other nominations for Chairman of Council? Seeing none, can I hand the meeting back to you, Chairman?
Thank you. And thank you very much, councillors. I'm going to now move on to appoint the Vice Chairman of the Council. I would like to propose the Vice Chairman as being Councillor Coote. May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Webster. Thank you, Councillor Webster. Are there any further nominations from the floor, please? No? Fine. I'd like to congratulate you and thank you for standing again as Vice Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman.
I'm now going to item number 4 of the agenda. And I'd firstly like to thank you for electing me as Chairman of Mid Sussex District Council for a further term. I'm very honoured to accept and assure you that I will continue to represent the Council to the very best of my ability. As COVID is hopefully behind us, I also hope to be able to do more to promote my excellent charity, Kangaroos, and any assistance you can give me in this respect will be very much appreciated. Thank you again for voting me as Chairman. Thank you. Moving on, you will note that the past engagements that we have, both the Chairman and Vice Chairman have attended, are available to view on the website and includes the very successful Mid Sussex Marathon. I'd like to mention that members have been given 2 posters to put up around their wards. Please, could you members assist in placing the posters in prominent positions so that residents can see them? One is regarding the energy rebate, highlighting that if you pay by direct debit, there is no need to contact Mid Sussex. You will be contacted directly by the end of May. And the other is to point out that if they don't pay by direct debit, they have to apply for the rebate online. The other is related to Clare Hall, asking councillors to ask your constituents to register to the Clare Hall engagement page. Doing so will allow them to see the latest news as work progresses, ask questions of the project team, and receive regular news updates to their inbox through the project. I'm also asked to mention that Peter Stewart, members will have noted from item 7 that the 151 officer, Peter Stewart, is sadly leaving the council. I'm going to ask the leader to say a few words, plus any group leader who may wish to speak afterwards. Leader, would you like to speak, please?
Thank you very much, Chairman. On behalf of the Council, I'd like to formally recognise Mr Stewart and his leaving the Council and the very long contribution that he has made to the Council and to the Mid Sussex residents. Peter joined the Council over 30 years ago as a young lad in the Revenues and Benefits Department here in the Council, working his way up, becoming the Council's Head of Finance and Section 151 Officer in 2005. And in that time, Chairman, he's made a very considerable contribution to the Council's work, most notably in the transition away from government grant to a financially independent model of local government finance, which has been no mean feat over many years. And a very large number of councillors, Chairman, have over that time benefited from Peter's knowledge and advice. And as someone who's worked closely with him since I took on the finance portfolio in 2009, Peter, thank you for your service and the support you've provided to me and other members over your time at the Council. And I'm sure we all wish you the very best in whatever comes next. Thank you.
I'm sure we all agree with what the leader said. And Councillor Eggleston, you wish to speak?
Chairman, and in Councillor Bennett's absence, I'm deputising for her. I'd like to firstly endorse the comments made by the Leader of the Council, save that, in my opinion, Peter is still a young lad and looks very well for it. I joined the Council in 2019, so don't have the Leader's experience of working with him, but what I would say is that Peter and I have exchanged a lot of emails in that period. I'd like to describe, let's find the right word for it. Some of my emails to Peter have been robust or assertive or challenging, and what I would like to say is that Peter has always responded as an absolute consummate professional, a gentleman, sets high standards in his work and the information that he's given to opposition members over the period of time that I have known him. And on behalf of the Liberal Democrat group, I wish you well, whatever path you journey on over the coming years. I hope it is a smooth path and successful, and that blessings follow you for the rest of your life. Thank you.
Councillor Gibson?
I'd also like to endorse the Leader's comments and on behalf of the independent group thank Mr Stewart for the support that he's given us. In my case, I've been emailing Mr Stewart since 2017, and it seems that I've persisted with issues, and he's been kind enough to train me in how parish precepts are calculated, how the tax base is arrived at, and in particular a favourite of mine, how the new homes bonus, although sadly I have not persuaded him to distribute that in the way in which I would like it to be distributed, and I look forward to crossing swords with his successor on that one. His emails, I have to say that they have a personal touch, which I quite like. And I know, for instance, that he went to Sadler's Wells in 2019, I think it was, to see Swan Lake. And he's recently come back from Ireland. So I always find those nice little touches puts a bit of humanity into an exchange. Thank you very much, Peter. We shall certainly miss you.
Thank you. Councillor Eves.
Thank you, Chair. I'm also deputising for the leader of our group, Matthew Cornish, who is laid up with a very bad back. So I would like to echo particularly what Robert Eggleston has said about the consummate professionalism of Mr. Stewart, which has been wonderful for us in opposition. And I understand as well that he shares with me the hobby of beekeeping, which was a pleasant thing to learn. It's very difficult when you're always on Zoom ever to establish any kind of personal information or exchange, so that kind of thing is really nice to hear. So we wish him all the best really in his future career or whatever he is moving on to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Eaves. Please pass our best wishes on to Councillor Cornish. I'm now going to move on to item 5, to note members appointed to the Cabinet and for the leader to appoint those members. So I pass on to the leader, please.
Thank you very much, Chairman. And I want to advise members that it's my intention to bring the Cabinet back up to 7 members at this annual council meeting. So firstly, to deal with the reappointments, Chairman, Councillor John Belsey is Deputy Leader of the Council, who will continue to have a cross-cutting portfolio. Councillor Norman Webster as Cabinet Member for Community. Councillor Stephen Hillier as Cabinet Member for Economic Growth and Net Zero. Cabinet Member, Councillor Robert Salisbury as Cabinet Member for Planning. Councillor Ruth Demir as Cabinet Member for Leisure and Parking, and I'd like to appoint a new Cabinet Member, Chairman, Councillor Rachel Cromie as Cabinet Member for Housing and Customer Services. And I'll confirm the exact portfolio responsibilities through MIS following this meeting, and I think that gives us a strong Cabinet team, Chairman, for the year ahead to focus on residents' priorities. And perhaps, Chairman, through you, I could congratulate Councillor Cromie on her appointment and invite her to join the Cabinet team at the front. Thank you.
Congratulations, Councillor Cromie. I'd like members to note this and to confirm their agreement, please, by saying yes. Agreed. Thank you. Moving on to item 6, to receive and note the nominations to the following committees. It is a tabled paper for 22-23 for the Audit Committee, the Licensing Committee, the Licensing Subcommittee A, Scrutiny Committee for Housing, Planning and Economic Growth, Scrutiny Committee for Community, Customer Service and Service Delivery, and the Scrutiny Committee for Leader, Finance and Performance, the District Planning Committee, the Planning Committee and the Standards Committees. Do we have any questions or comments on the paper that has been tabled? No? Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move the recommendation from the chair. Please, can I have a vote raising your hands in favour? Have we got any votes against? I can't see any. No? Fine. Thank you. I'm moving on now to item 7, the appointment of Interim Chief Finance Officer and Section 151 Officer. This item is being proposed by Councillor Ash Edwards and is seconded by Councillor John Belsey. Councillor Ash Edwards.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I think the report that the Chief Executive has produced for the Council is self-explanatory, flowing from Mr. Stewart leaving the Council, as we discussed earlier, and so I formally propose the recommendation.
Councillor Belsey, do you wish to speak now or retain your... The recommendations on page 5. The Council is recommended to appoint Stephen Fitzgerald as its S151 officer, effective from the 12th of May. Do we have any councillor that wishes to speak or comment on this item? No, that's fine. So I'm going to take a vote by a show. Oh, I'm so sorry, Councillor Belsey.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to support the recommendation this evening. But before I did, I just also wanted to record my own thanks for the work of Peter Stewart over many years. I know it will come as a surprise to many members, but in fact my council officer relationship with Peter Stewart began so far back, it was last century. So I'm very grateful for the support that he's provided over the thorny issue of local government accounting, but on those many other matters that our leaders already referred to that's brought the council to where it is today. So I thank him very much for the support, and I'm pleased to support Stephen Fitzgerald as well. It's a very important role for the council, and I'm very happy to second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Darcy. We have another vote. So I'm going to have a vote, please, by a show of hands. Please raise your hands if you're in favour.
That appears to be a unanimous, Chairman.
Thank you. So we're going to move on to item 8, programme of meetings for 22-23, which is proposed by Councillor Webster and seconded by Councillor Ash-Edwards. Councillor Webster.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm happy to propose this programme of meetings for the 2022-23 year, and members will recall that at our March Council I said, and I quote, "Although most COVID legislation expired in late February, it has been replaced with guidelines and guidance. This includes health and safety executive requirements that the Council completes a risk assessment to ensure it takes reasonable steps to manage the remaining threats of COVID, while we learn how to live and work in new ways. The assessment must reflect the public health regulations, guidelines and guidance that remain in place." The report that we have before us from Tom Clark in his capacity of Head of Regulatory Services and Monitoring Officer makes the position of the Council clear. However, I believe Councillor Andrew Lee has tabled an amendment which seems quite sensible. For clarity, I will read the amendment. And the amendment is that Council and committee meetings will be in the chamber. When due COVID or other health and safety considerations, it is not considered prudent to hold the meeting in the chamber. A report detailing the reasons and risk assessment will be presented at that meeting. I know, Chairman, that you have been keen to return to the chamber as soon as it is safe and sensible to do so. So have many others, including myself. I would therefore be happy to accept Councillor Lee's amendment as I propose this item. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Lee, did you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So just to be clear, really, this amendment does speak for itself. It's straightforward. It's about this council getting fully back up to speed. It's about us leading in the recovery. It's about governance. It's about transparency and accountability to our residents, which is why I propose it. Thank you.
Yeah. You have a seconder. Councillor Stockwell. Do you wish to speak? I think the microphone's with you. Okay. On the motion that we have before us, the amendment. Yes. Councillor Gibson. We're talking about the amendment at this moment.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I did want to rather query what the point of the amendment was, given that it's proposed to present the assessment to the meeting. So therefore, it has no opportunity to affect the way that the meeting's held. Thank you.
Is anyone? Councillor Hemwood.
Thank you. No, I just have a question. That's particularly some of the scrutiny meetings, they're now on our timetable for 6 o'clock. So I'm wondering, particularly if we accept this amendment, they would revert back to 7 o'clock?
I think that's a different issue, but I will seek clarity for you on that. Councillor Lee, do you wish to respond to Councillor Gibson's point? Please.
Yes, of course, it would be too late at that meeting for a change to occur, unless everyone quickly leapt into their cars and drove in. The point, though, is to make sure that it's clear as to why the meeting is not being held in the council chamber, so that everyone can understand the reasons, and obviously then to influence subsequent meetings if that were appropriate. I think the other point about the meeting being at 7 o'clock is a very good point, but I'm not sure that would be part of this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe the question about the timings is something to be considered by the respective chairman, and all the councillors will be advised of their deliberations and their decision. Councillor Stockwell, do you wish to speak on the amendment?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, it's a very sensible amendment. It just brings clarity to how we are operating as a council and particularly as our public face. So I'm very happy to second this proposal. Thank you very much. This amendment, rather. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to vote on the amendment. Yes. So we're now going to vote on the amendment to this, and for clarity, I'm just going to read it out. From the 23rd of May, council and committee meetings will be in the chamber. When due to COVID or other health and safety considerations, it is not considered prudent to hold the meeting in the chamber. A report detailing the reasons and risk assessment will be presented to that meeting. So can we have a show of hands in favour of accepting the amendment? Is there anyone who wishes to vote against the amendment? Or abstain? Councillor Eggleston wishes to abstain? Oh, so sorry.
3 abstentions. So
3 abstentions.
That's 40 in favour and 3 abstentions.
Okay, so that amendment is carried. So we are... So we are going back.
Sorry, we need to just vote on the motion.
Okay, so we are going to vote on the motion before us with the inclusion of... Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got a question on the substantive motion, and that is, I'd like to know what is the maximum number of members and officers that can be accommodated in the council chamber, and would I address my question to Councillor Webster? Would he not agree that the scrutiny committees would be much more effective if they were held in face-to-face and person? Thank you.
Okay, first of all, I'm going to ask the legal officer to speak about the capacity.
Yeah, we have been doing risk assessments on the chamber, and up until this point, it's been 24 people in the chamber. You'll have noticed, if you've been quick enough to look at MIS, that the COVID rates have come down quite considerably, and we are confident now that we can, from next month, accommodate the whole council in the chamber. Those that you yourself have been in the chamber, there is seating for all the members in the chamber.
Thank you. You wish to speak in relation to that answer? Please go ahead.
Thank you. So my question was specifically about scrutiny committees meeting in the chamber. Could I have an answer to that, please?
The amendment that's being carried is for all committees, so scrutiny committees will be in the chamber, but if the chairman felt that it would be better for them to be online, scrutiny committees can be online because they're not decision making. But the idea is that all meetings will be back in the chamber from the 23rd of May.
Right, I think you've answered your questions now. I'm going to move on to Councillor Trumbull. You have a point you wish to raise.
Thank you, Chairman. Earlier, when we were debating the amendment, timings were mentioned. In the substantive motion on item 8, it says that timings of meetings reflect the current arrangements in place for in-person, off-site and virtual meetings. So I'm assuming, therefore, that if we move towards meetings again in the chamber, as indeed we want to, that the timings of the meetings would revert to where they used to be. That is, most meetings starting at 1900, as I think this is better able to accommodate those of us who do work. So I know we're not voting on that here and now, but I would urge the Council to look at meetings reverting to 1900 start when we do move back to the chamber. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Trumbull. Your comments are noted. If I have no one else who wishes to speak on this motion, we're going to go to the recommendation. Councillor Ashhaver is the seconder. Do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Chairman. I think the points have been made and I'm happy for us to proceed.
Thank you. So we're going to now go to the full recommendation on page 7. It is recommended that the programme attached to this report as Appendix 1 will be approved with the inclusion of the amendment. Those in favour, please.
Looks unanimous, Chairman.
Thank you very much. I am now going to close this meeting and thank you once again everyone for attending at 7:27. Thank you very much. I would just want to remind members that the session has not concluded. The second part of this meeting will start at 7:30. So perhaps if you remain in situ, we will be able to start.
Good evening, members. This part of the agenda is not part of the annual meeting. It's the meeting of the various committees which you are joining in accordance with the report that's in front of you. The format of these meetings is fairly standard. I ask for nominations for election of chairman. If there's more than one nomination, there's a vote. There's then the chairman will take over and ask for nominations for vice chairman. The third item on the agenda is whether or not there's any urgent business. We last did this in person in 2019, so I'd like to remind members that when we get to the committees you're on, can you please stand up so it's obvious who is on that committee, and it also makes it easier if there's any votes to count. So the first meeting we're starting with is the Audit Committee. Do you want me to read out who the members are, or no, you're all right? So could I ask for a nomination for chairman of the Audit Committee? Councillor Llewellyn Burke.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Councillor Pulver as chairman.
Is there a seconder for Councillor Pulver? Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to second Councillor Pulver.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, Councillor Pulver, I hand the meeting to you.
Recommend that Councillor Llewellyn Burke is the Vice Chair. Thank you. Sorry, I need to ask for a second. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to second Councillor Llewellyn Burke.
Thank you. And I think we now go to item 3. And I have no other business. And what are we looking for now? Do you have any other nomination? No? So then we go to item 3. And we have no other business, thank you.
So that concludes the meeting of the Audit Committee. Moving on, the next one in the list is the Licensing Committee. Could members of the Licensing Committee please stand up? Could I ask for nominations for Chairman of the Licensing Committee? Councillor Knight.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Councillor John de Bell, please.
Councillor John de Bell. Is there a seconder for Councillor John de Bell?
I'd like to second John de Bell as chairman.
Thank you. Do I have any other nominations for the chairman of the Licensing Committee? Seeing none, can I hand the meeting to you, Councillor de Bell, as chairman?
Thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to nominate Councillor Gary Marsh to be my vice chairman. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you very much indeed.
I'm happy to second Gary Marsh's.
Bless you,
thank you.
Are there any other nominations for vice chairman? Therefore, can I have a vote? We don't need a vote, do we? Sorry. Therefore, Councillor Gary Marsh is my vice chairman. And then I move to the next item on the agenda, which is there anything on the agenda? I have nothing, and therefore I close this meeting of the Licensing Committee at whatever time it is. Thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. The next matter on the list is the Licensing Subcommittee. They'll deal with their chairmanship at their first meeting. So we now move on to the Scrutiny Committee for Housing, Planning and Economic Growth, if members would like to stand who are on that committee. Can I ask for nominations for chairman, please? Councillor Peacock.
To nominate Councillor Neville Walker, please.
Is there a seconder for Councillor Neville Walker? You can't second yourself. Councillor Forbes.
I'd like to second Councillor Walker as chairman, please.
Oh, sorry.
Are there any other nominations for that scrutiny committee? Seeing none, I hand the meeting to Councillor Walker as the chairman.
Thank you very much. Item 2 on the agenda is the appointment of a vice chairman. I'd like to propose Councillor Adam Peacock as vice chairman of this committee. May I have a seconder, please?
I'd like to second Adam Peacock as vice chairman.
Do I have any other nominations, please? Then Councillor Peacock, I duly congratulate you as vice chairman of the Committee, the Scrutiny Committee, Housing and Local Economic Growth. Thank you. Item 3, to consider any items that the chairman agrees to take as urgent business. I have none, so I'll duly close the meeting at 7:26. Sorry, 7:36. Thank you.
Thank you. The next one on the list is the Scrutiny Committee for Community Customer Service and Service Delivery. Could members of that committee please stand? Can I ask for nominations for chairman, please? Councillor Boutrop.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Councillor Anthea Lee.
Do I have a seconder for Councillor Anthea Lee?
Yes, I would like to second her, Councillor Anthea Lee. Thank you.
Do I have any other nominations for chairman? Seeing none, can I hand the meeting to Councillor Anthea Lee as chairman?
Thank you for appointing me as chairman. I now go to item 2 on the agenda to appoint a vice chairman. I'd like to propose Anne Boutrop. Can I seek a seconder for that?
Thank you. I'd like to second Councillor Boutrop. Thank you.
Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Peter Chapman for Vice Chairman.
Is there a seconder?
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to second Councillor Chapman. Thank you.
Okay, so then we have to go for a vote. So can I ask for people to vote for Councillor Boutrop as the Vice Chairman?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And for Councillor Chapman, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Councillor Jackson, are you on this committee? No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 8 in favour of Councillor Boutrop and 6 in favour of Councillor Chapman. So Councillor Boutrop is the Vice Chairman.
Thank you. I'd like to congratulate Councillor Boutrop on that. So I now move to item 3 on the agenda to consider any items the chairman agrees to take as urgent business. I have none, so I close this meeting at 7:38.
We move on to the Scrutiny Committee for Leader, Finance and Performance. Could members of that committee please stand up? Could I ask for nominations for chairman, please? Councillor Knight is nominated. Is there a seconder? Councillor Whittaker.
Thank you. I'd like to second Councillor Knight.
Are there any other nominations for chairman of the Scrutiny Committee for Leader, Finance and Performance? Seeing none, can I hand the meeting to Councillor Knight?
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Item 2, appointment of Vice Chairman. I would like to nominate Councillor Mike Porfer, please. Do I have a seconder?
I'd like to second Mike Porfer as Vice Chair for this position. Thank you.
Do I have any other nominations? I see none, therefore I wish to congratulate Councillor Mike Pulford on being the Vice Chairman. Item 3, I have no urgent business, therefore I close the meeting at 19:40. Thank you.
And moving on to the District Planning Committee, could I ask members of that committee please to stand up? Just to remind members, it's the District Planning Committee, not the Planning Committee. Could I ask for nominations for Chairman, please? Councillor Bruce Forbes.
I'd like to propose Councillor Dick Swetman.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Whitaker.
I'd like to second Councillor Swetman.
Any other nominations for Chairman of the District Planning Committee? Seeing none, can I hand the meeting to Councillor Swetman?
Thank you. I would like to propose Councillor Bruce Forbes to be my Vice Chairman of the District Planning Committee. Are there any other nominations for this position? I see none.
It's a seconder.
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you.
Me to second Councillor Bruce Forbes.
Are there any other nominations for this position? I see none, and I'd like to congratulate Councillor Forbes to be the Vice Chairman. And as I have no other further business, I close this meeting at 19:43. Thank you.
Thank you. And then the final one tonight, we won't be doing the Standards Committee because they have other members, is the Planning Committee. If members of that could stand up, please. And could I ask for nominations for Chairman?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Gary Marsh as Chairman.
Do I have a seconder for Councillor Gary Marsh?
I'd like to second the motion of Gary Marsh's.
Are there any other nominations for Chairman of the Planning Committee? Seeing none, Councillor Marsh is the Chairman. Councillor Marsh isn't with us tonight, so I get the joy of doing the Vice Chairman as well. Could I ask for nominations for Vice Chairman? Councillor Bruce Forbes.
I'd like to propose Councillor Philip Coote.
Is there a seconder for that, please?
I'd like to second that position. Thank you.
Are there any other nominations for Vice Chairman? Seeing none, Councillor Coote is the Vice Chairman.
Item 3, consider any items the Chairman agrees to take. I have none, so I close this meeting at 7:45.
Concludes the appointment of Chairman and Vice Chairman of our committees as far as we can tonight. Thank you, members.
Here's the meeting, and thank you very much once again for everyone's attendance here this evening.